Okay, so as I said, well, we're happy for when the mouse is going away from us and up the screen to see the back of the mouse. When it's coming down the screen towards us, we want to see a different bitmap which shows the front of the mouse. So there's a nice way that we can do that with sprites using layers. So the bitmap that we originally gave the sprite will be on its layer 0, but I can actually add more layers and then utilize them. So if we go back into my game class, we need to set up another bitmap for the mouse front. So I'm just going to do a bit of copying and pasting to save typing there. And what I'm going to do is make our mouse front bitmap now belong to, I'll call it front of mouse. And we're going to be using mouse pick 2, which if we have a look, there we go. There's a little front of a mouse pick for us. And then I can add a layer by just using my sprite name and then .add layer, and I just need to give that a bitmap, and then I have to give it a string just to name that layer. I'm just going to call that front. Now I'm going to make a handle inputs function which is going to be used to move the mouse and change the layer depending on what arrow keys are pressed. So I'm going to actually give it just a constant integer first, just to set the speed, which just relates to how fast it'll move. I'm going to set that to 8. I'm also going to need a couple of doubles for the X and Y position of our mouse sprite, which I'm going to keep track of and then move. So double MX, and I can get the X value of the mouse sprite directly with SplashKit.SpriteX and just give it my sprite name, and that'll pull it out for me. And I'll do the same with my MY to get the Y coordinate of our mouse sprite. And so these we're going to adjust, utilizing the speed depending on the key that's pressed. So we'll have some if statements here, and we'll just use SplashKit.keyDown function, and we want this to happen if the key that's down is the up key. So if that's the case, we're just going to take my and we're going to reduce it by our speed, remembering that the y coordinate goes from top to bottom. That's effectively going to make our y coordinate go up. And of course we want the opposite if the down key is pressed down. All right, and so we're going to need to add speed to make it actually appear to move down our screen or down our window. Now also, if it's moving down, it's coming towards us. So this is where I want to see the front of the mouse or the front layer of the mouse. So I'm going to hide with sprite hide layer, and then I give it my sprite name and the number of the layer we're going to hide, which will be 0 because the first layer that we assign is the 0 layer, like indexes in an array or list. And then we're going to have sprite show layer to show layer 1, which is the next layer I added, which is actually that front pick of the mouse. And if we've got the mouse going up now, of course we're going to have to reverse that. So I'm going to have to go back into my if statement for the up key and reverse that process. So I'll just copy and paste that again to save some typing, and I'll just reverse those numbers. So if we're going up, we will hide the front and show the back. Okay, and now I'm just quickly going to add a couple of if statements so that we can have our mouse going left and right. I'm happy for their picture to remain at whatever it was before, so if it was coming towards us it can move to the side with the front, and similarly for the back. So we'll just set them accordingly and modify our x coordinates. And of course once we've done that, we will need to handle input to take that in. Oh, and we'll have to set the x and y, otherwise we haven't actually moved it. We've just calculated a new x and y for it to go to, but we never actually told it to go there. So we'll just use the SplashKit.move sprite2 again, and we put in our sprite name and then the mx and my that's now been adjusted. And we'll see how that goes. So that looks better. You can see when we go up, he turns away from us. And when we come back down, he comes to face towards us. So that's good. It's still a little bit boring though. He can move around in an empty blank screen and not do much else. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give our mouse some cheese. So I'm going to create some more sprites. I'm just going to make it a list of sprites and show you a few more things that we can do with them just to add a little bit of interest for our mouse and show you a few more functions that you can use. See you in the next video.